You're listening to the Basketball Lab podcast with your hosts Mark Shannon, Mark Clark, and Marco Corona. They'll discuss all the top news and stories from around the basketball world while giving their opinion and insight. Now, here are your hosts.
Welcome back to another episode of the Basketball Lab podcast. I'm your host, Mark Shannon, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mark Clark and Marco Corona. Man, I was coming in here. I was going to talk about the Jalen Suggs injury after I was watching the Gonzaga versus West Virginia game. And then Woj dropped an atomic bomb on all of us.
Woj bomb.
Like, literally, like, that's the, like, when they say Woj bomb, that's literally a Woj bomb right there.
Yeah. It's probably the biggest one he's dropped so far this year, too.
Man. Well, he's been bombing all year, so he might as well do something.
Like, yeah, like, man, we're talking about probably the most talked about trade this offseason since the playoffs ended. Russell Westbrook going to the Washington Wizards for John Wall and a protected first-round draft pick in 2023. Like, man, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about this trade.
Man, you know, I was before we came on, I was just saying that I went outside for a bit and then came back inside, and I didn't check my phone until I came back inside because it's too damn freaking cold here. And then I thought I got hacked. What do you mean they traded Russell Westbrook to Washington? What? Like the unmovable contract versus the unmovable contract. But
just switch players.
Right. But the more I thought about it, right, if we're going to pick a side who won this trade, just on the surface alone, I think that Washington won this trade. Like take the money aside for 1 second. Take the money aside for 1 second because the money is ridiculous. I don't know what the status of John Wall is. Like John Wall hasn't played basketball in like 15 years for crying out loud. I feel at least
true.
Like my guy is
been a while.
Right, my guy is basically on one leg, and that's not making light of the situation because it was a serious injury. But you don't know what you're going to get. So now you flip them to Houston, which is, you know, it's a fun place to be apparently because Boogie's there and Harden's there, and we'll talk about that in 1 second. But at this particular point, the trade win goes to the Washington Wizards based on just the fact that they're going to pair him up with Bradley Beal, and we don't know what the future holds, by the way, as well. So we can be talking about this, you know, in a year from now. But at this particular point, as crazy as this trade is, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, a slight nod goes to the Wizards for, in my opinion, getting the player that can be used the best at this particular point. But again, I never thought that somebody would actually be able to say, I'll take John Wall. I really didn't. Like, he's going to be owed, like, what, $180 million over 1 year? Like, I don't even know.
Yeah, he was a huge contract.
This thing was so big that and Shannon, I don't know if you have the numbers in front of you, but, like, the numbers are astronomical. But this is now Houston's problem, literally. I don't know what that means for James Harden. And I know that Woj just tweeted out a while back, a little bit before we came on, that this does not change the stance for the Houston, I was going to call them the Astros, the Houston Rockets, as far as trading James Harden, which tells me that they're thinking about it still, and they're still going to try to make a move eventually. But the dynamics of that team, tell you what, I don't know where everybody's picked the Houston Rockets to finish this season, and we'll get into that after, but they're going to be something else to watch. But wow, I was not expecting this at all.
Yeah, I'm still recovering from this Woj bomb. That's like, I don't think any of us was expecting this trade tonight, and who to wear, as in Westbrook going to Washington. Like, no one expected that. I mean, after thinking about it for a bit, I actually think Westbrook in Washington is actually not a bad idea. He'll probably work out there, and it will probably end up being a good fit for him. But John Wall going to Houston, as you said, Marco, and we'll get into it a little bit more with Cousins in Houston, James Harden. We don't know how long he'll be there, and now John Wall. I mean, they could also have something on their hands too. But yeah, this is just so unexpected. Like Russell Westbrook is now going to be playing for Washington. That's crazy. It's going to be It's going to be an interesting season, guys. It's going to be an interesting season.
I like the fact that now we have KD, we have Kyrie, we have Russell Westbrook, all in the same conference, and they're going to see each other more than a few times. This is going to be fun. Oh, man, this is going to be something else. This is going to be something else.
Is the schedule out yet?
I think next Friday.
I need to circle some dates.
Yeah, so I'm sure we'll be talking about these individuals a bit more.
Like I said, man, I'm speechless. I don't understand I don't know how this trade came about and what happened, but yeah, going on to your point about the contract, John Wall's got 3 years left, and we're talking 41 mil plus for the next 3 years.
And that's the average. That's the annual salary. That's the average. That's not even like what's his last year? Like 49 mil, 45?
47, 366, 760.
Wow.
And that's a player option, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you already know he's going to opt into that.
I mean, I would.
I would opt in right now.
Amount, of course.
I'd opt in right now.
Yeah, I'll opt into that with the Knicks for that amount.
Damn.
But putting it, yeah, literally. Well, I don't know about that, man. That's like, that's crazy. That's a lot of money.
I could have said Clippers.
I would opt in for that for the Clippers, but frig, man, the Knicks. I wouldn't opt into that to play under Dolan. Not a chance. Keep the money. I'll play for $20 million somewhere else.
Jeez.
Right, but talking about the Wizards, that's got to be a sleeper team in that Eastern Conference right now. I mean, we already know the Eastern Conference isn't as strong as the Western Conference is, but you look at that Wizards team; they've got a lineup of Westbrook now. They've got Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
Right. They drafted Denny Avdija. They have Davis Bertans.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Davis Bertans. They have Thomas Bryant and Rui Hachimura. Like they're a solid team 1 through 5 right now. Can they put it together in this quick time and a turnaround and the season coming up quickly? That's going to be up for debate. But I like their chances in the Eastern Conference now. Like we were talking about it, like, you know, going into this with the power rankings and standings and all that stuff. I think they're definitely vying for that 8th seed in that Eastern Conference. I think it's going to be tight with them, with Russell Westbrook playing on that team. We saw what he was able to do with Paul George when he was playing beside Paul George. Paul George became an MVP candidate, and then he went to Kawhi and became a scrub candidate. But at the end of the day, Russell Westbrook elevates his players. The players beside him, he elevates. He's, like I said it before, he's a triple-double monster. He plays both end. He plays. He's a great passer. He drives to the hoop. He can take over games when you need him to take over. But he'll also elevate Bradley Beal to another level. I think we saw Bradley Beal take a step up last season where he was one of the top 3 scorers in the NBA. I think this year he'll take another step forward. In terms of Houston, I don't even know what to talk about in terms of that. I think they're a mess right now. You got Russell Westbrook, he's going to run the point beside John Wall, who's always injured.
Wait, you just said Russell Westbrook.
Sorry, I meant James Harden. Sorry, James Harden. It's just a trade.
That's because he still can't. Yeah. That's because he still can't believe it happened. That's
exactly. Why, I can't.
This is not a mistake. Like our brains are still scrambled. So
exactly.
We'll give you a pass, which Harden doesn't do.
Well, exactly. So like I said, I think Beal's gonna benefit the most out of having Westbrook on his side there playing in the backcourt. I think arguably this is the best backcourt duo in the NBA right now.
Whoa. Hold on one second.
Rockets?
The Rockets?
No. The Wizards. The Wizards.
Oh, okay.
The best backcourt. Okay. This is based on what? Are we talking based on what's going on? If Clay was not hurt, would you still stick to that?
No, but I mean, Clay's hurt. He's not playing. So, and he's out for the season. So the best court duo in the NBA right now, to me, Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, hands down.
until Russell Westbrook goes bananas and he blows up, and then Bradley Beal's going to end up like in, the Lakers or something.
Well, maybe, but I'm just saying right now, as it stands on paper, they're the best backcourt duo in the NBA.
I mean, based on their pedigree, I think I would have a hard time arguing that, right? But again, and it was
no in Westbrook.
What's that?
No in Westbrook.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, but what I was going to say, and what you said, Clark, is not incorrect. And I will give Westbrook the benefit of the doubt because this is a fresh start. And again, we talked about this before, that he's going back with Scotty Brooks, right? So his old coach, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
there's familiarity there as well, right? So for the sake of Westbrook's career and quote unquote his legacy, and as a basketball fan, okay, let's cut the BS for 1 second. I hope that this works out for him, because the last 2.5, 3 years have been really a bit of an opposite of what Westbrook was when he was an MVP guy, right? So all of a sudden now I feel like everybody's picking on Westbrook, and sometimes he does it to himself, right? He plays with intensity. He plays 100 miles an hour. He has one speed, right? He struggled shooting. He's got better. He's been a bit of a roller coaster up and down. And I hope that this is the right fit for him in the U.S. Capitol. So we'll see what happens there. But championships and wins are not, you don't win on paper, right? You're going to have to actually go out and actually
prove it. Yeah.
Right? So, and the Wizards, just like a lot of other teams, are going to have to adjust to change. And the challenge with Westbrook, to your point, is that the change over the last couple of years has not necessarily worked out in his favor. So I am interested to see how Bradley Beal adjusts just as much as Russell Westbrook adjusts in the U.S. Capitol. So we'll see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. Russell Westbrook needs to use this as a fresh start, and he needs to do some things differently. He needs to change up his style, his playing style a little bit, and
Is he
try
going to?
I was just gonna say I don't think Westbrook is gonna change. I really don't think him being in the league for so long and with his style of play and stuff, I don't see him changing. So as you said, Marco, I hope it works out for him, and I wish him all the best in Washington.
So at the end
sorry,
of
if I can just rant for 1 second about Houston, because just sorry to cut you off,
That's okay.
I can't get this out of my head. I don't understand what the end game is for Houston. I really don't. Because there are so many combustible elements in Houston right now. Boogie Cousins, people forget he's there now. I don't know whether he starts the season or not because of his health. And again, we hope that everybody's healthy, so we don't ever hope for injury. But it is what it is. He's damaged goods, right? James Harden, who has basically 1 foot out the door, but they're saying they're not going to trade him. And then now you have John Wall, who may, or I don't even know what his status is. You have and I would love to see the math on this. You have everything pretty much tied up in 2 guys, in Russell Westbrook. So, wow, see, there I did it again. James
Harden. Let you give you a pass too.
Yeah, and James Harden, and then a contract is actually going to get worse before it expires in John Wall. So I don't know what the experiment is. But Houston, again, this is what they do, right? Like when everybody is going this way, they're like, yeah, we'll take a left and we'll take the long way to success.
So doing their own thing.
To me, Houston should have, and people are going to say, well, what are you talking about? Should have just taken the knee and start tanking and just start trading assets. And that's it. Because they're plugging holes, but there's a different hole that comes up every time they put a finger in there. And it doesn't make any sense to me, but it's not my money. So.
I was gonna say I feel like they're tanking, but they don't really have a plan. They're just like all over the place.
The Houston Rockets.
The end game is to tank.
The Houston Rockets have become what the New York Knicks were before they were actually, literally on paper, garbage. Wow. What they do is they fix problems with money, and that's not the solution. I'm gonna leave it at that. That's it.
More money, more problems, man.
So I'm gonna throw this out there. So the final trade, basically, what we're saying is Washington's coming out with a steal and a half in terms of this because they're getting Russell Westbrook, Joe Biden for John Wall and Donald Trump. Like Washington's getting the better end of this deal. You know what I mean? Like, like talking about like they're getting a huge steal.
How do we?
Wow.
Right? You see,
Marco, we gotta start paying this guy.
You
gotta start paying this
see?
guy.
You guys weren't paying. You guys, I'm telling you,
that's a charge. That's a charge.
See?
That's not even a block.
Let's just wrap
That's
up the podcast here. We don't need to continue.
No, we'll continue. We trust me. We got more. It's gonna get better. My goodness! Wow.
Keeping on
in the words of Marv Albert, and the foul.
Man, but you don't agree? The District of Columbia, Washington, is getting a steal in terms of this. You know, they're getting Russell Westbrook to play along Bradley Beal.
Yep.
And then they're getting Joe Biden as president.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything.
We couldn't have asked for a better trade in my eyes.
Exactly. Keeping on with the Russell.
Listen,
yeah.
Donald Trump is going back to New York, so I'll just leave it at that.
No, he's going to Florida.
Man. Yeah, he's got to move to Florida. He's already renounced his thing from New York.
Yeah, already moved to Florida.
Jimmy Butler's going to kick his ass.
Exactly. Keeping on with Russell Westbrook, we talked about before this. You know, I dropped the start bench cut on our Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. It's been blowing up. You know, and I set it up start bench cut. Russell Westbrook, Stephen Curry, Luka Doncic. And the consensus that I saw, which I don't agree with in my opinion of it, but was a lot of people were saying start Curry, bench Doncic, cut Westbrook. That was the consensus I was seeing across all our social media platforms. I mean, what do you guys think of that? Like, what would you guys do in that if you were ever in that situation?
I would quit my job. I would quit. I would quit my job. I would tell James Dolan, give me my money because you're going to give me my money anyway, and I would leave, and he wouldn't know. He wouldn't be no. Listen, I don't. This is tough because when you're trying to build a team, you're trying to look at longevity. You're trying to look at who the best player at this time is, and who you can build around. That's the whole bloody, purpose of start bench cut.
Yeah.
So I struggled with this a lot, and then Russell Westbrook got friggin' traded today, so that made it worse. So I'm just gonna say this, and you guys are probably gonna disagree with me. I'm starting Luka, I'm benching Steph, and I'm cutting Russell.
Wow, interesting.
Because Luka's the future. Steph is the present. And Russell's best days, I believe, are behind him.
I agree with you with the cut, but Curry's a legend. Curry's still a legend. So I would start Curry, bench Luka, and cut Westbrook. There's no way you could put Curry on the bench. It's just not right. And
Drake would put him in the bench.
He put Drake in the bench. Matter of fact, he put Drake in a hospital.
That's so true. That's for another. You think we can get Drake on the podcast? If anybody knows Drake, give him a shout.
Let me make some calls.
Okay.
I'll see. I'll get back to you tomorrow.
We're not gonna
I'll call my boy KD.
Remember, the second phone, don't use the primary phone. The second phone.
What's your start bench cut, Shannon?
Man, so you guys are going with the consensus. You guys are cutting Russell Westbrook. Man, people were doing it on thing, and we were getting a lot of people were coming back at the people being come on, Russell Westbrook. Somebody on TikTok said all the 12-year-olds are gonna cut Russell Westbrook. That was the comment they had.
What? Have they seen these three guys played?
Does this look like I'm a 12-year-old? You dumbass.
But I mean, My thing is going to be a little bit different. I mean, definitely got to start Steph Curry. You got to start him, 3-point shooter. He plays good defense. He's a good rebounder.
Don't tell me you're going to cut Luka.
I got to bench Russell Westbrook. I gotta cut Luka Doncic.
What's your reason for?
Please explain to me why you're cutting Luka Doncic.
I want to know
right
too.
now. I'm gonna go on mute and just listen to you.
Russell Westbrook is just he can do it all. Like, he's a triple-double machine. Don't get me wrong. It was a hard decision between Russell Westbrook and Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is young. He's a younger guy. Russell Westbrook has proven that he's able to play at this level and keep it for a period of time. You know, he's been a passer, rebounder. He can do it all on the offensive end at least. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, Luka Doncic is arguably one of the best players in the league right now and will likely go down as one of the best players in the league. But I think Steph Curry and Russell
Westbrook. You're cutting him?
Yeah. He'll pick up on another team. Somebody will pick him up.
Oh, wait. Let's just get this straight. You're doing a schoolyard pick. Westbrook and Luka is the last two.
Yes.
You're not picking Luka.
Correct. I'm telling you, that's who I'm picking. I'm putting Doncic out on the waiver wire, cutting him off the team.
Oh my God.
You know you're talking about Luka Doncic.
Yes,
right?
I know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about
the logo.
Yes, I know who I'm talking about.
Versus Westbrook, who can't hit a shot from the logo or 3-point.
Hold on one second. Isn't Westbrook your boy though?
My boy?
Yeah.
Used to be.
Okay.
But he's no longer that caliber of player though. He's no longer 2009 OKC, 2009, 2010 OKC. Okay. He's no longer that player.
Here's the problem with the question. First of all, it's a great question because it causes discussion and debates. And all joking aside, you're talking about one of the top, 3 of the top 10, 12 players in the NBA, in the world, period.
Yeah. NBA greats.
And I stand by my word that I think that Luka is, the future and Steph is the present, right? And this is not a disrespect to Russell Westbrook. It's not. But I'm just going based on if I'm trying to build a team and I have to start one and bench one, I'm taking the 2 best shooters, right? And that's why I took Luka. Listen,
and also the guys that pass the ball.
Well, in fairness, Russell Westbrook does pass the ball, but he is correct me if I'm wrong, but he's the worst shooter of the 3, correct?
He is. In
a league that you have to make shots, you have to take the best 2 shooters. Now, I was joking before we got on the podcast that I really hated this poll because you asked me to cut 3 of the top 12 players in the world, and somebody was going to get pissed. There's no point. Listen, if Russell Westbrook is watching or listening to this, which I know he is, he'd probably come to my house and kick my ass right now. Right? I take a selfie with him and then I let him kick my ass. But
it's okay. The party is closed.
Right, but this, you know what? Hit us up. Continue that poll. I don't know how long it's still open for, and we're gonna probably have it on our website as well because this is crazy, and we're gonna have a lot more of this. But I hated this question, but I loved it because at the end of the day, you had to cut a great player. There's no ifs but about it. But I'm sticking with what I said. But the fact that you're cutting Luka, it actually hurts my stomach a little bit. But you had to cut someone. In fairness, you had to cut someone, right?
Exactly. And like I said, we talk about Russ and say he doesn't pass the ball and he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that.
But he does pass the ball, though.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, you
don't get triple doubles by not passing the ball.
Exactly. He's one of the biggest triple double
threats. After he got his double first.
Oh man,
he gets his assist last.
Now we're going into.
Hey, take it from me. I was a Westbrook fan.
You know how they do this in the NBA for review? Yeah, you got to review that comment. Oh Lord.
Keeping up with the controversy, we're going to move on to the Los Angeles Clippers, who are never-ending controversy, never-ending talking point. Like, we had the thing today about players coming out and saying that they're pissed off at Kawhi and the preferential treatment him and Paul George get. And then Tyronn Lue is basically saying that, or reportedly saying that he's going to be able to fix it. I mean, take that for what you will, believe it if you want. But, I mean, what do you guys think of the Clippers and all this crap that's going on with the Clippers?
I'm going to go last. I need to gather myself.
I was going to say, you need to go first, Marco, because this is old news. It's nothing new. We've been saying this for the longest while, that the chemistry there is just not right. It's something they need to work on, even though I'm not sure if it's fixable at this point. It's, as I said before, we can all agree that the Los Angeles Clippers are the new New York Knicks, because they're just never short of drama. But shout out to them though, because they keep giving us content over and over and over every week. So, but I mean, I don't even know how to really put this, because it's 2-star players are what should have been 2-star players end up just being 1.5, I guess, if you want to count Brick Paul.
I was waiting for it.
Pandemic P. But these are, let's say, should have been higher caliber player than who they had. These are the guys that were supposed to bring them to the championship, right? So you got Kawhi that came in, Paul George came in. These guys are, we can agree, NBA stars, or somewhat. And they're getting different treatment, or they're calling certain shots than who's been there for a number of years. Obviously, some people are going to feel a way about that, because they have like individual security, and they can dictate when they want to play and when they don't want to play and all that stuff. But I mean, it's just crazy, because there's just so much going on there. It's just too much. It's way too much going on down there. Go ahead, Marco, because I don't even know what to say about this team anymore, to be honest.
Marco, you want to go next? You want to go last? What do you want to do?
No, you go ahead. I'm still trying to meditate.
So right there, egos. That's what I have to say. Egos. There's too many egos on that team. Too many egos. We saw it with the Raptors. Kawhi Leonard had the same preferential treatment. We saw it. Nobody said a word. At least it never came out into the media that people said a word. Everybody was okay with his load management and all that stuff. Yeah, okay, I get the fact that he lives in San Diego and he travels there, but what did they expect? That's what he was coming home for, to be at home. He wanted to be closer to his family, not 45 minutes away in LA. But I don't understand what they wanted. You brought in Paul George. You gave Kawhi Leonard everything he wanted. He wanted a superstar, or a so-called superstar. They brought in Paul George for him, but he wasn't able to. They weren't able to come together. They think that bringing in Serge Ibaka is going to be able to change that, and Ty Lue is going to be able to change that chemistry and that and all that stuff in the locker room. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. There's too many egos in that locker room. You got Chicken Wing Lou Will. You got talks too much Pat Beverly. You got Kawhi Leonard, who doesn't talk at all. Paul George, who doesn't shut up. So the only good guy on that team right now that doesn't talk or doesn't really talk, or doesn't talk trash, is Serge Ibaka. Everybody else on that team just talks just to talk. You know what I mean? Like, it's a bunch of egos on that team.
For the Clippers to get anywhere in the league at all this season, they need to get rid of Sweet Wing Chicken Lou, and they need to get rid of Pat Beverly, because that's where all the grief is coming from. So they got to fix that first.
No, you're wrong. I'll tell you why you're wrong. And I'd say this with all due respect. This is what they wanted, so this is what they're going to have to stick with. Okay? So, let me backtrack for 1 second. As much as I think that your statement is correct, in theory, it's wrong because this is what they actually wanted. So I agree with you, Mark. But if you want to get rid of a problem,
it's not working out, and it will never work out.
That's too freaking bad because this is what they signed up for.
Yeah.
Okay. They wanted to be the Lakers and they wanted to beat the Lakers. So now you're going to have to lay in your bed and enjoy the piss that you fucking put on that shit. So, if there's any kids watching this, we'll censor that after. Okay. Let me tell you something. And we talked about this before we got on the podcast, right? And Mr. Brick Paul or Spicy Lack of P and whatever his garbage name is, went on a Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, right? Podcast, and basically ripped Doc Rivers a new asshole. Now, we all already have our opinions about Doc Rivers. And whatever that is, it is what we said, and we're sticking by it because it's on the internet, right? But the one thing that you don't do, and this is my personal opinion, it doesn't reflect what you guys are thinking, is that you don't talk trash after the guy leaves. You have to talk with the man, tell the man that you
tell him to his face.
Right?
Yeah.
So now you have to go on a podcast. And if anybody wants to look it up, it's on Google. You can Google it and all that nonsense. And basically he said that it's Doc Rivers' fault. I'm just giving you the Coles notes. Okay? That Doc Rivers did not put him in the best position to succeed. You're a superstar player in this league, considered by some elite one of the best two-way players in the league, and you have no voice all of a sudden. Right? But now you can speak your mind after the man has left. You know what you don't have? You don't have any balls. That's what you don't have, number one. Number two, when Kawhi was in Toronto, and to your point, Shannon, nobody said shit. Nobody. Now, for sure, I don't know this, but for sure, I am very positive, and we've all watched sports, right? We all watch sports, and every sport, there's one or two superstar elite players that are above everybody else that always get star treatment.
What they want,
right? And it's a matter of, number one, how ownership and management views that. They signed up for that, just like the Clippers signed up for all this nonsense. The Toronto Raptors knew what they were getting. And there's no way, and maybe we'll find out years down the road, you know, maybe he has a book or something like that, like Lowry and Van Vliet and all the other guys, that maybe there was a little bit of a, you know, resentment towards Kawhi. But it didn't let them get in the way of their goal.
And it didn't come out. It hasn't come out.
All I hear from the Clippers is excuses. That, you know, the chemistry was bad. We didn't have time to practice. My shoulder was hurt. I came off surgery.
Adjustments were made.
Right. Doc Rivers was putting me in a pick and pop, treating me like Ray Allen. First of all, like, don't bring Ray Allen into this. Like, what does he have to do with this? So, but you said everything that they did was somebody else's fault. Right? Yeah, we didn't play well enough, but there was always a but. There's no but. Just own it. Be a man. And to me, the Clippers, again, to me, this is why it's this year coming up this season, and we don't know what's going to happen, is make it or break it. And the two main stars, and if you want to throw in Ibaka as, you know, sort of like a middle sort of tier guy, they all have player options. Guys, if this thing goes into a garbage chute, all these guys may or should dip. And the Clippers are going to go back to what they were, the Clippers, the second fiddle in LA. As a matter of fact, they're probably the third or fourth after the LA Dodgers. I would put them actually ahead of the behind the LA Kings, for God's sakes. At least they have a championship. But to me, all they did was just make excuses after excuse. Like, nobody had any accountability for that. And you can blame Doc Rivers all you want, but after the guys left, you talk shit about him. To me, that's soft. That's what that told me about that team. And Uncle Dennis, I don't know where you're hiding. I don't know what cave you're hiding in or some hole you're hiding in, you dirtbag. This is what you wanted. This is what your people wanted. So now you're gonna have to eat shit.
True.
Eat
That's true.
Man, I was going to come out and say that. I was going to be like, I wonder if Uncle Dennis and Kawhi are regretting their decision to do all this stupidness to go out to LA, for 2 years.
That's shame.
Of literal mediocrity. Mediocrity.
They left Toronto because they felt that this team was not good enough to go back and run it back. And then they went out and had a 3-1 lead and blew it.
Yep.
By the way,
call me a homer, and I don't care what anybody says. There is no bloody way that if the Raptors had a 3-1 lead, maybe they lose one, they blow that lead. Because they would have closed that shit out.
Yep. Kawhi, if you're watching.
And then Harold dips across the hall to the Lakers.
Yeah.
And nobody.
Wait, did you see that interview with LeBron?
Get out of here.
No, what?
With I don't remember which podcast he was on, and he's like, they knocked on the door and Montreal answered. Like, literally just steal this guy from next door.
Shout out to LeBron for being the second best player agent in the league.
Yeah, I mean, the Clippers.
By the way, Kawhi, if you're watching, Raptors are playing in Tampa now. It's warm and sunny there, so no hard feelings.
Kawhi wanted to go to LA, and
I know you left, but no hard feelings.
Yeah, he didn't even go to LA. He went to San Diego.
Always come back next season.
He didn't even go to LA. He went to San Diego, and he's late for practice. And everybody's just complaining about Kawhi Leonard and his preferential treatment.
Guy just doesn't care, man.
You know what?
Maybe he's bad at Google Maps. I don't know.
But you know what? We saw the press conference where Steve Ballmer and Doc Rivers and Kawhi Leonard and Paul George were all having a big laugh about them signing Kawhi Leonard and bringing in Paul George, and that they were going to do big things. Well, Doc Rivers isn't there anymore.
Right.
Paul George might be leaving at the end of the year. Kawhi Leonard might be leaving at the end of the year. Well, hey.
Remember when Pat Beverly and Lou walked into that summer league?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah,
it was more like summer school, bitch ass schools.
remember the casino too, where they they said they were winning it all already. I mean, come on.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well,
when the Clippers realize what they've done and what's happened, they're gonna look at their draft picks and they're gonna realize, shit, we don't have any first rounders till 2026. What the hell are we doing?
That's too bad.
Right? Like, what?
Somebody call OKC.
Exactly, and OKC is going to tell them no. Keep Paul George. We don't want him. Sticking with LA, we'll move on to maybe a little better topic, a better team, the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron James today. We'll settle it down a little bit. No more animosity. We'll all.
I'm okay now. I'm okay.
Drink some water, Marco.
Right, the Los Angeles Lakers and LeBron James came to an agreement.
There you go.
2-year, $85 million deal for him to stay. His contract runs through to 2023. What do you guys think of the deal? What do you think it means for the Lakers moving forward?
I think it makes a lot of sense. 40. So it's 85. That's 40 plus over 2 years. No player option, I believe, right?
Correct.
Yeah, sure. Like takes him to potentially the twilight of his, final 2-3 years, whatever he has left. Or maybe he pulls a Brady and he goes past 40. But yeah, no, it makes sense. If you really think about it, at this particular stage of his career, why would he want to go somewhere else? Right? Like when you have everything that you need in LA, and it's a big market, right? Outside of Miami, it's the biggest market that he's played in. And he is the biggest fish in the pond, right? And there's the wild card, and I don't know if I can spoil it or not, but his son Bronny is not too far behind. So, and then I made sort of a light joke today with these guys on our chat that I said it's sort of like the Ken Griffey scenario where you sort of wait it out until you play with your son and then you ride off in the sunset.
Yeah.
But listen, the Lakers are in a good position to run this back. Obviously, I thought they got better this year, and now it gives them just some security and also some insurance to get AD back, even though I know it's obvious that he's coming back. And then the Lakers can sort of just pause and in 2-3 years see where they're at and do what they need to do. They don't need to go complete tank nation. They just need to just keep on going. They have the best players, two of the best players in the world on their team, and then they're just surrounding them with great pieces. So if the Clippers are noticing, this is how you actually build a team, right? Like you go out and spend the money the right way, and then you surround everybody else with the right characters. And you have arguably the best player in the world right now, even at his age. 2 at 85, to me, that's a, it is what it is. The money is the money. LeBron can care less, I'm sure, about the money, but it's all about securing the last 2 or 3 years of his career. Good move for the Lakers, a no-brainer. And, AD will be next in queue, and as they say, and off you go.
Mark, just before you jump in there,
Go ahead.
He's making just a little more than John Wall. Just a little more than John Wall.
Why would you bring that up? I don't understand why you have to bring up John Wall's First of all, that is sad. Isn't that sad?
Right? Like exactly. A little bit, exactly.
Like we've already moved past John Wall, bro.
You literally can retire tomorrow and go into the Hall of Fame, and you're making this much more than John Wall. Stop.
Right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, good for the Lakers. I'm pretty sure LeBron will wrap up his career as a Laker. Good on him for signing that extension. As you touched on a little bit, Marco, that takes him into when his son Bronny James should be drafted, 2023. So I'm pretty sure he signed that deal with that in mind. Because obviously we all know he wants to play with his son. Right. For at least a year of it, or the last year of his career.
Right. Barring hopefully no injuries, right? Knock on wood.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, hopefully no injuries. Hopefully he can stay healthy.
I'm sure they'll load manage him.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll manage his minutes and load manage him for the next coming years. He's currently 36 or 35. So he's 35.
Is he not older than that?
He's turning, I believe, 36 on the 30th of December.
Yeah.
Maybe 39.
So he's going to be 36. At the end of his contract, he's going to be 39.
I think he pulls a Brady. I think he goes past 40.
You think so?
Yeah, I think
he's
so.
He's going to pull a Vince Carter? Well, Vince Carter retired at 40, right? I think.
Yeah, but
you just look at LeBron James though. He doesn't look like he's slowing down. Doesn't look like he's losing.
No, that's because he spends a lot. This guy takes care of his body. In the off season, he spends millions just to
It's an investment.
Yeah.
Literally invest in his body.
Absolutely. Yeah, he does. He does. And
unlike me, that invests in the beer store.
Invested in bears. But yeah, obviously his investment is paying off. I mean, he's not the LeBron James. He's not the young LeBron James that just came into the league or at the start of his career. But he's still doing a lot for being in the league so long and for his age. So his investment is paying off. But yeah, good on him and good on the Lakers for getting him that extension. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're going to see AD sign something soon. Probably a similar, I'm guessing a similar contract to LeBron that lines up the both players when at the end of the contract, AD can decide what he wants to do. But yeah, shout out to them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see the deal is perfect for LeBron James. He gets to ride off into the sunset in LA, where Kobe, ended his career. He's got, like you said, Bronny's in high school there. He has the chance to possibly jump to the NBA after his graduation in 2023, where if the NBA and the NBAPA can come to a decision on that, getting rid of that high school to NBA thing.
The limits, the age
right?
Limit,
If they get rid of that.
They need to, though.
Exactly. So I think a lot of them are hedging their bets on that, but it's a good deal for the Lakers. I mean, you're locking up arguably the best player in the league, arguably the best player to ever play the game, whoever wants to decide that. But you've already got Anthony Davis. They just came off an NBA title. They added Montrezl Harrell. They've added Dennis Schroeder. They've added Marc Gasol. They've added pieces to that team to make them even better than what they were last year. Like, who is going to stop the Lakers in that Western Conference? It ain't the Clippers.
Right.
The Clippers aren't doing it. It doesn't matter. I don't care about no chip on their shoulder. The Clippers don't have it. They don't have the depth. They don't have the team to beat the Los Angeles Lakers. The Denver Nuggets don't have it.
No,
I just don't see.
That's proven.
I just don't see any team in the NBA being able to stop LeBron James and Anthony Davis in a 7-game series for an NBA title. I just don't see it. And signing LeBron James for the next 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is, it just solidifies Los Angeles as the Lakers as a championship contender for at least the next 3-4 years. And going forward, I think it's a perfect deal for LeBron James, like I said, and I think it's a perfect deal for the Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, listen. To me, it's not only a great deal, but it's everything that they have, surrounded LeBron and AD with, is not necessarily so much about talent, but basketball IQ, right? And you talk about when we, as we live here in Toronto, obviously we saw Marc Gasol firsthand. Basketball IQ. Dennis Schroeder is not a stupid player. He has a basketball IQ. They were able to secure KCP, which I don't think the Lakers are getting a lot of credit for.
Agreed.
That's a low key internal
Underrated.
Our guy move, right? Like he didn't go in like that to me. And again, it's all about fitting within what they have, right? And then just adding other pieces to the puzzle. And to me, this is how you build a team. Yes, you can have all the talent in the world, but it's got to be, you got to get smart players to buy in. You have usually 1 or 2 alpha males, and then everybody sort of just follows the lead, right? And everybody's going to fall into that role, which is a complete opposite, again, I hate to bring it up, of what the Clippers did, right? So again, to me, it's the Lakers, and let's not forget, the Lakers were not really, prior to LeBron, were not really killing it as far as winning and being the Lakers that everybody, grew up and knew. So they've gone back to doing things the smart way, right? And yes, they're going to pay a price. Everybody does. Who cares? That's the price that you pay to win. And that's the price that you pay to be consistent. And that's what you do. Like, you look at the great teams in all leagues, this is what they have to do. You go up to the cap, but then if you look at the roster, it's like star, and then solid players, depth. And that's what the Lakers have. They have a lot of depth for a few years to come. And I think that this is obviously, it's a no-brainer. And again, you line it up with AD's contract, which, to your point, I do agree, the more I think about it, it will probably be lined up. And if not, if AD decides to stay longer, who cares? You give the keys back to AD, and that's your franchise until you decide otherwise, and you dip to Chicago if that's what you want to do. But yeah, so be it.
Yeah, with the NBA season's coming up. COVID-19 is still around. It's running rampant.
Yeah.
We've seen it in other sports, in the NFL, MLB. It's played its course. The NBA, they're not doing a bubble this time around, which, I mean, most of us expected them not to do a bubble this time around. It's just not feasible for a full season. But COVID-19, like it's going to play an impact on this season. Going forward, like, how do you see? I know they released their 234 page or whatever it was protocol on COVID-19, but how do you see this season going? I mean, I'm expecting cancellations and games being moved and stuff like that, but how do you guys see this season going?
Well, I don't think it's going to be as bad as baseball and football, but I don't think it's going to be as great as the bubble. Right, so it's somewhere in between. Obviously, that 340,000 page report that they had out for the protocols is going to, hopefully everybody read it.
They should have made a video.
They should have made a video, right?
No one's going to read that.
No, I wouldn't read it. I would just ask somebody, did you read it? No, tell me what it's about.
A summary.
But here's where it gets a little bit interesting, in my opinion, right? And then FYI, we'll talk about the power rankings and all that stuff and who's going to finish first and last and all that stuff. listen, you can predict that the Lakers can finish first, that the Clippers second, or, you know, in the East, the Bucks, this and that. But all it takes is 2 or 3 cases, and it completely throws a monkey wrench in your entire, you know, 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever it is. Because from what I understand, the part that I read is that if you test positive, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you have to be out at least 12 days.
Right.
Right. So, guys, if you're playing, you know, that's basically 2 weeks or whatever the case is, and your star player or 2 of your players, your depth players are out, that has an impact on how you play and how you game plan, and depending on who you play and when you play them, you know, a 5-game winning streak can become a 7-game losing streak, right? Because you don't know. So we hope as players and as fans that everybody's responsible, and if we take a small sample size from the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball, and again, I don't think it's going to be as bad. There will be impact. Teams will get positive tests. I would be pleasantly shocked if nobody gets a positive test. And there's going to be a star or 2 that might get it. They will probably get it, not might. They will probably get it, and it's going to impact how teams play and manage and coach. And it's going to hurt your depth, and we'll see what happens. But it's expect the unexpected, I guess, like a certain show says, right, on a certain channel. But we'll see what happens. So listen, if you have predictions and all that stuff, that's great, but write them in pencil, because a lot of things can happen this year.
Have an eraser.
Pencil and a nice eraser, because a lot of things could happen because of this pandemic that we're going through. And again, that's no joke, right? I mean, it is what it is. It's bigger than basketball, but if you're sticking to this particular topic, then I mean, it's going to have an impact on how teams manage and play and your depth. And this is where, by the way, if I can sort of digress, but not really, where too much change sometimes is not necessarily a good thing in the NBA this year, because teams are going to try to adapt. They're going to short training camp, no summer league for the rookies. You're going to right into the season. Somebody gets sick. You have players coming in and out. So it's going to be a matter of who can adjust the best to the worst of a situation.
Yeah, it's going to be an unpredictable season. No doubt COVID-19 will impact the season somehow, some way or another.
For sure.
Without the safety of the bubble, it's for sure almost guaranteed that multiple players will test positive at a time.
Just
Lou
don't let him go to Atlanta. Just don't let him go to Atlanta.
Or a whole club will test positive.
That was bad. I'm sorry.
But COVID-19 will impact gameplay. It will impact the schedule. How bad it will be, that's yet to see. That we can't really predict that. The good thing is,
I hope we're all wrong, right?
Yeah, because we want nothing but the best for this league. I mean, it's a game we all watch and love and enjoy so much. The good thing is there's some hope on the horizon. There are a couple vaccines that are about to be approved for emergency use. So I mean, it was already approved in England, in the UK. So hopefully America will follow suit, and given the relationship or the contacts or the strings that Adam Silver has, the influence that he has, hopefully they'll be able to get that into the NBA as soon as possible and get those guys vaccinated. But obviously they're not going to be first in line. It's going to take some time. They'll still got to figure out the logistics of like getting it done and all that stuff. It's multiple doses, so it's not something that's going to impact or that they're going to get right away. So until then, they just got to be as safe as possible. We already saw 48 out of 500.
Yeah. Yeah, 545 or whatever it was.
548, I think, test positive. So you already know that they're which is expected. I mean, they're just coming off Thanksgiving weekend, where everyone was just interacting with family and whoever. So there's going to be some positive tests, which is somewhat expected. Hopefully, it's not too bad, not as bad as the NFL. And hopefully,
I like how you got that in. You got the NFL in there. Okay.
Hopefully, it doesn't impact the schedule too bad. But for sure, there are going to be some players that's going to be out at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it's to be expected that they're going to have positive cases. I mean, it's a virus. It gets passed on. We've seen it throughout the last 9-10 months, almost a year. That's what happens. It got passed on. You listen to Governor Andrew Cuomo there, who today said that by September they're expecting, 6% of Americans to have the vaccine. 6%. So you're talking about probably not having NBA basketball for another 2 years, like with fans in stands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the players got to take this seriously. That's what they got to do. They got to take this seriously. You can't just go around, pussyfooting around and hopefully that just
watch it now.
No, I mean in terms of what I mean, just screwing around. You don't want to be going around screwing around, doing whatever you want because you can't do that. This isn't the same time as it was over a year ago. This wasn't the same time. You can't just go around doing whatever you want to do. And also, you look at you compare the difference. Yes, NFL had cases. Yes, they had to move games. There's also 54 men or whatever on an NFL team, on an NFL roster. There's 12 guys on an NBA roster. You lose one or two guys, you're down to 10 guys.
It's detrimental.
It's detrimental to the longevity of your players. It's detrimental to the health of the players. It's detrimental to their stamina, their fatigue, all that stuff. You know what I mean? Back to backs, all that kind of stuff. So
this all depends on how long they're sick for too. Sorry to cut you off. Also how long and how well they deal with the sickness will also influence. Will also have a big impact.
Yeah, I'm also interested to see how the NBA plays the schedule out because I know from what I've heard is they're planning on releasing the schedule in 2 parts. The first part they're going to release that only covers up until the All-Star break, which is middle of March, I think they said. Basically like a March break, you know what I mean? So they're going to have that, and then they're going to release the second part of the schedule. My assumption on it is what their plan on it is that they're planning on having, releasing the schedule. You'll more than likely be paying your Eastern Conference opponents for the first part of it. I would assume. I don't see a lot of cross-country travel between the teams in the first half. Maybe a little bit, but I mean, then again, you look at it. Maybe I'm wrong because the Warriors and Nets play in the first game together, and then there's a lot of cross.
That's marketing, though,
right? Well, true, but that's what I'm saying. Like, and then the second part of the schedule, I think they're kind of waiting it out to see how the first part goes, so that they could plan it out. If they have to stretch it a little bit longer, we know the Olympics is. We know the Olympics is scheduled as of right now 2 days to start 2 days after Game 7 of the NBA Finals, the NBA Finals, Game 7. That's when the Olympics is supposed to start. So that's going to play a factor into it. There's a lot of things that go into this. It's not just COVID testing and being positive. You may have to move games around. You may have to cancel games. You may have to do a lot of different things to figure this out. And it's going to be sort of fly by the seat of your pants in a sense. They have the protocols in place. I do trust the NBA is going to follow those protocols, and the players, for the most part, are going to follow those protocols and stick to their families when they're at home, and stay in the hotel when they're at a market. Hopefully they don't go to strip clubs and get chicken wings and stuff like that. But you never know in this this day and age what'll happen with these NBA players.
Atlanta's a heck of a town, right, boys?
Right, exactly.
So I've heard. But you know what? On the serious side, thinking about it, now is when the NBA actually needs the bubble more than ever, because the US is in their second wave, which is actually a lot worse than the first wave.
Right.
Like now is really when they needed that bubble. So it's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, at the beginning of this, no one really knew that much about COVID and stuff. So they obviously preferred to be secured and keep everyone, all the players to themselves and stuff. But thinking about it, now is actually when they actually need to be in a bubble. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out and how it affects the schedule and play.
The tough part about that, being in a bubble for a 72 game season, is that you're being in a bubble for 72 games.
Yeah.
Whereas being in a bubble when they did this, back a few months ago, it seemed like it was forever, but it wasn't.
It was basically just a playoffs and final.
Right. So, it was, a few exhibition games plus 12, 10 games, whatever it was. And then you go into the playoffs. And even that was a little bit tough for players, right? Until they even allowed families to come in, second, third round or whatever it was.
Yeah. But wouldn't you rather be in a bubble and end up finishing your season than not being in a bubble and have no clue and probably won't end up finishing?
I agree with you in that sense, but you're not going to get the players to agree with that. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Right.
And people have let down their guard. They really just wanted to just be done with this, go out, just get back to some normal, right? So which will hurt. That's exactly what I'm saying. At what cost?
Yeah, I agree with you, Mark. I do, but you can't ask 30 teams to go to Florida again or wherever it is to stay there. You're not talking about 3-4 months like they did last time. You're talking about December till at least June. That's being away from their families.
But they've already done this. They know how it works.
And they hate it.
Sure.
And they hated it.
No. But what I'm saying is, I'm pretty sure the NBA can make some adjustments, right? To when they bring in their families and try to make it work for them.
No, I agree.
You could, or you can.
Accommodate them a little bit better. Yeah.
Or you can do regional bubbles, whereas so you have divisions, and then certain teams are in a certain region.
And
right,
then you move it around.
And then you move it around a little bit, right?
Yeah,
but again, it's all you got the union. Listen, when you have a union, I don't care what league or matter of fact is you're not gonna always agree on something. I get your point though, because at the end of the day, as fans, and it's just people and family and all that stuff, we want everybody to be safe, right? But it's so difficult to do this now. In saying that. In saying everything that we just said, if there's a league that I trust that's going to get this right, I trust the NBA the most.
Correct.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
For sure.
So whichever way we slice it, I feel like the NBA is going to figure this out. And yes, you're going to have a couple of, delinquents and people that don't listen. And that happens in any sport and any job, whatever it is, no matter what the rule is, somebody has to break it. Right. But at the end of the day, I feel like the NBA has their shit together, and I think that they'll figure it out. And what the NBA has is a lot of players that hold other players accountable, right? Because it's their livelihood as well. Yes, they make millions and millions of dollars, but if you're smart, you don't want to jeopardize somebody else's paycheck, right? And somebody else's livelihood, because who knows? Like, what if you forfeit games? What if your bonus depends on you making the playoffs, right? Like, if you're going to break it down to that much, then yeah, you just smart about it and you suck it up. Like Nick Nurse said, right? It's not ideal. They don't want to be there. But you got to smile, do your job, adjust, and make the best of a situation that millions of people are suffering. So,
yeah, I agree. Moving on, one final topic before we end it all off. We've got the NBA schedule. They released the first 3 days or three days of the NBA schedule. We got the 22nd, 23rd, and the 25th, which is Christmas Day. December 22nd, we got Golden State Warriors versus the Brooklyn Nets at 7 p.m. on TNT. Then we got Chicken Wing Lou Will and the Los Angeles Clippers versus the Los Angeles Lakers at 10 p.m. on the 22nd. Out of those two games, which one are you more excited to see?
Are you talking about the 22nd or Christmas Day?
No, 22nd right now. We'll move on to the 23rd, then 25th.
Well, the 22nd to me, so the opening, it's going to be the hallway series, no matter what. Like, I'm looking forward to seeing, the one LA team versus the one that thinks they're in LA. That's my pick for obvious reasons. Last year the Clippers thought that they can, they had him because I believe they won the season series, but that didn't mean shit. So we'll see how they come out and play. Yeah,
I mean, the two LA teams are what we didn't get to see in the Western Conference Final, right? That we were all looking forward to. So that's actually the game that I'm really looking forward to on opening night. Opening night. Yeah.
I've seen Kawhi. I've seen the Lakers and Kawhi go at each other last season. I want to see how Kyrie and Kevin Durant play together against the Golden State Warriors, and how Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors come together, and how they play, missing Klay Thompson and all that stuff. But I want to see how that game goes. That's the game that I'm most interested in, especially for opening night and seeing those two teams go to battle. It's Kevin Durant's first game back since he tore his Achilles. It's his first game back against the Warriors.
Being a net too.
Correct, exactly. So that's the game I'm looking forward to in terms of on the 22nd.
Nobody wants to see Big Papa Pump Andrew Wiggins now that he's jacked up.
Right, I know. Michael Jordan.
Right.
Give me a break.
This guy.
Moving on
it's gonna be two good games because KD is my favorite player. So, and I haven't seen KD played in a long time, over a season. So I'm really excited to see him play. I'm really excited to see the Nets play, to see how they'll play, what their chemistry will be like. Plus, Golden State, we really haven't seen the Steph Curry Golden State for let's say a season, because he did came back for a little bit, but they weren't in the bubble and stuff. So we haven't really seen the Steph Curry Warriors
really, if you think about it, since the Raptors shut down Oracle.
Yeah. We haven't seen neither Steph nor KD.
I had to get that in there
since then. So it's two really good games, and I'm actually looking forward to both of those games because, as I said, KD's my boy, and I haven't seen him played in a long time.
Moving on to the 23rd, we got the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Boston Celtics on TNT, and then we got the Dallas Mavericks and the new look Phoenix Suns at 10:30 on ESPN.
Oh,
definitely. I think it's easy. I think it's easy for all three of us.
Easy. Yeah. Give me the guy that you cut versus the Phoenix Suns. I have to get that in there.
It's the latter for me as well. I'm actually excited. Never been this excited to see the Phoenix Suns.
Nobody has said that since Dan Marley was playing for the Suns. And Sir Charles and all them guys. Yep.
Yeah, for real.
Yo, come on now. Nobody wanted to watch. Nobody wanted to watch. Maybe except Shannon. You're trying to tell me nobody wanted to watch the 7-second or less Suns against the Los Angeles Lakers. Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire. Come on now.
It's been a while since anyone's been this excited to watch the Suns play, but yeah, I'm really excited for that team for what they've got over the break and what I'm expecting them to do. So
all joking aside, it's been a while since we've seen the 7 seconds and less Suns, and before that the Suns from the 90s. I think that it's a different direction, right? Yeah. It's a new team coming in per se, and what I mean by new team, I mean just a different look right? And just something exciting for us to look forward to. So yeah, we're all looking forward to seeing your Phoenix Suns play some basketball, man. Come on.
Hoping that book can pick up where he left off.
Don't mad at us.
Yeah, I think we know where my allegiance lies and what I'm.
The other game, right?
No, what I'm looking forward to.
He wants to watch the Washington Wizards.
Yeah, for sure.
They're not even playing.
Wow.
No,
exactly.
I want to watch Devin Booker. I want to watch Chris Paul, Jay Crowder. I can list them all off, I want to see how they do against Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. I know
we don't have that much time, man. Come on.
We know Kristaps Porzingis isn't playing. We know Kristaps isn't playing for the Mavericks. He's out until at least middle of January. So that's a big loss for the Mavericks. And they lost Seth Curry already. But I'm looking forward to seeing that game. Moving on, Christmas Day, last one before we end it off here. We got the Pelicans versus the Heat to open it up. We got the Warriors against the Milwaukee Bucks, the Nets versus the Boston Celtics, the Mavericks versus the Lakers, and then we got the Clippers versus the Denver Nuggets.
This is, pick your poison here. I'm going to just switch it up a little bit, and I'm going to say I want to see the Denver Nuggets. They're a fun team to watch. They were fun last year, and in the bubble, they killed it. So, again, we're talking about one game, but as far as, that particular day for itself, anytime you see Jamal Murray and the Joker, it's enjoyable to watch. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking forward to see these young Denver Nuggets, see what they can do. And let's see what the Clippers do after, what happened to them last year. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
Sorry, what are the games again? My bad.
Washington versus the Knicks.
Pelicans.
That's basically Knicks versus Knicks right there. Right?
we got the Pelicans versus the Heat. We got the Warriors versus the Bucks. We got the Nets versus the Celtics. We got the Mavericks versus the Lakers and the Nuggets versus the Clippers.
You know what? I'm gonna say Pelicans versus Heat. Because I'm really interested to see what the Pelicans will do this season. And obviously I want to see if the Heat can pick up where they left off from last season. Yeah. So I'm going to go with the first one, Pelicans versus Heat.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow suit with Marcos, and I'm going to say the Nuggets versus the Clippers. I want to see, this is a rematch of that 3-1 loss in the playoffs, the 3-1 series loss, the Clippers lost, and then the choke job. Yeah, literally the choke job. So I'm looking forward to seeing that one.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great, man.
Yeah,
listen,
I know.
Before we go, you gotta tell the peeps about the.
You're muted.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah. You're muted, bro.
Look at this. This is real. This is real stuff right here. This is what happens, right? I was just gonna say before we go, you gotta tell the good people that follow us about the website, man.
Yeah, we've come out, like I said, we said it last week on the podcast. We have a new website called thebballlab.com. You head over there. There's going to be power rankings. There's going to be stat leaders, all that stuff. We're going to write. So we have articles coming out. You could find our podcast through Apple, Spotify, Amazon. You can find it all on there. You can also go to our YouTube page from there. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, everything. But look out in the next couple of days for our NBA power rankings. We're also going to give you our NBA standing projections and who we think is going to finish where in the projections as well. So like I said, go to our website, subscribe to our website, look up for the articles, click on all our social media links, follow us on all our social media links as well. And that's all I can say about that. It's exciting times that we've got a podcast and all that stuff. A podcast, we got a website, the Instagram's buzzing, Twitter's buzzing, everything's buzzing right now. So I'm excited about it.
We're taking over the world, people. We're taking over the world.
Yeah. It's just everything we do in one place. Check it out, thebballlab.com. Everything you need to know about basketball, NBA, whatever.
And if there's something that you guys want us to talk about, hit us up.
Hit us up.
Absolutely.
Send us a message.
Literally.
Unless you're a Clippers or Boston fan, then you can go after yourself.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Basketball Lab podcast. Thanks for joining us this week on the Basketball Lab podcast. Make sure to follow us on our social media. You could follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the B-Ball Lab. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Basketball Lab podcast, and you could also find us on iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon Music.